it's recording.
Yes, we are recording. Tiffany Tan, also known as Lovage. Oh, how do you pronounce that?
Lovage.
Lovage. Fun fact about you: you have a bottomless pit stomach. Where I feel like if I ever have to go to any buffet and if I want to make my money worthwhile, you'll be the first on my list for me to invite.
Definitely.
Yeah, you have a skill in eating that is unparalleled.
I think it's well known.
Yep. Introduce yourself, please, Miss Lovage.
I am Tiffany, and I am an illustrator. How else do you want me to introduce myself?
How long have you been illustrating?
Professionally, I guess for about 5 years, thereabouts. 5, 6, 7, depends.
As someone who likes to eat, a professional illustrator and professional eater, what?
I wish I did professional eating.
What do you like to do? You can lie down if you want. You don't have to sit down if it's that comfortable. Okay. So what's your favorite food? What's your go-to comfort food?
Okay, let me lie down.
What's your go-to comfort food?
My go-to comfort food is popcorn.
Why?
I love popcorn.
The best shitty food that you can eat?
It's not the best shitty food. What do you mean by the best shitty food?
Because popcorn's is like the best cheat food. It affects you the least, I think. That's what
really?
I read online.
Okay, it depends though. Popcorn can go either way. It can go super healthy or it can go super unhealthy.
And you don't seem to gain a lot of weight when
definitely put on weight.
It's like you eat so much, but you never seem to grow fat. Maybe you can feel fat, but I don't think you've ever been fat.
I guess not fat, but I guess I've been slightly chubby. But I've always had my lulls. I guess it goes up and it goes down. So there are times where I eat a lot and there are times where I don't. And I guess food goes into training.
Oh yeah, that's
food goes into training.
You burn off your calories a lot. I remember that we had this buffet with the company.
Yeah.
I was like almost done eating, but you were just getting started. You were just like, heading over to get more and more food.
I ate my way through everyone.
Yeah, like wow.
Everything.
Okay. When did you really first pick up a pencil? When you were very, very young or?
Yeah, I guess. Like I remember I would have family gatherings and we would have these drawing competitions against each other. But we were drawing, like I remember pulling out books from the shelf and it was all like Disney characters. So we were drawing like baby Disney characters and seeing who copied it the best, I guess. Kind of like a drawing competition, but then again, it wasn't a very creative drawing competition. We were just merely copying.
So you've always excelled in art? Like you've always like got A1?
No, not at all. When I was in secondary school, we had only 2 people in our cohort who took art. So like my school didn't have art, so we had to go to another school to do art for O-levels.
Huh?
Yeah, I was in Tanjung Katong Girls' School and then we had to walk over to Tanjung Katong Secondary School just to do art because they have more of a class there, if that makes sense. A class? I don't know.
So I reckon you don't remember what was the first drawing you ever did?
Definitely not. But I definitely remember one of the first ones were the Disney ones, and I drew on a plate. Like you know how
a food plate?
Yeah, I think it was at what's that mall? Forum. I vaguely remember this. I think I was probably 7 or something.
Okay.
And then there was this shop in Forum that has these plates where anyone could draw on, and then they had like stamps as well that you can put on, and then they would glaze it over and fire it, and then you bring home a plate as a souvenir.
Oh, okay.
One of those. So then I did that, and I drew my family.
And you've even done murals in Orchard, right? I've seen your pictures where you do projects with clients in Orchard Road.
Is it in Orchard? I'm not sure if it's in Orchard, but I've done stuff in Orchard. I mean, the last thing I remember doing in Orchard was at the Dr. Martens event. That was at Wheelock.
Okay, so any big murals or any drawings that is out in the street that people probably might have seen?
Oh, the last one I did that was really big was outside Double O. That was like years ago. I did it with a good friend of mine.
Okay.
And we painted like this 2-story sized painting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, SFC was held there, and that the outside wall, that was the old Double O.
Oh, okay.
So the outside wall was really big, right? That was the one I painted.
But that was you. Oh,
No,
nice.
I mean not now, but I mean it was
Oh, that
done
was where
before.
you
Yeah, that's why I
painted.
painted.
Oh, okay.
I think at that
Fair
point they were supporting artists a lot, so they had a rotation, so that they were doing different artists and different murals every other, I don't know, quarterly or something.
So
I'm not
you're
sure.
a very hot commodity amongst the
I wouldn't say that.
Singapore's art scene.
I wouldn't say that at all, but hopefully one day I will
I mean,
be.
you got like what 40,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, not to say that Instagram followers really translate to
Yeah, it does it.
popular fame.
It does not.
I'm pretty sure you don't have 40,000 friends. But
Unfortunately not.
40,000 creepy.
Fortunately and
supporters.
unfortunately not, I guess.
So what was the whole process of learning how to draw? Did you like YouTube your whole tutorials? Like, I mean, some of your drawings are very hyper realistic.
Not really hyper realistic, but I guess realistic enough. I like a good line between realism and illustration, I guess, if that even makes sense. More illustrative work and realism, like in between, rather than hyper realism or rather than super illustrative. So I guess when I was younger, I got used to copying drawing, so I kind of learned how to see what I draw. I mean, there's also a module in school.
I mean, you have to have the eye to draw.
I mean, that's a different thing, but knowing how to see what you're drawing is one of the modules that you learn in school anyway. But my interest brought me to the library a lot, and I would borrow books from the library. I'll just look through like different tips and stuff on like drawing or like watercolor or stuff like that, or like, you know, color and stuff. And then eventually when I was in secondary school, I don't remember much of it, but I guess that's where I kind of started learning a bit more about art. And then I made the decision to go into an art school, and that's where I guess it kind of grew from there, and I got proper teachers to learn from and stuff like that.
So it's been a very, very long journey where you...
I guess
when you say about the eye, what comes to my mind is that if I drew a character, and for example, if I want to animate the character in like a comic,
yeah.
If I want to draw a comic panel, I have to consistently draw the same character, with the same face, the same shirt. And to me, I can't do that. The same character looking at the side or looking
multiple
up, looking
angles.
down, multiple angles and all that.
I mean, but that's not drawing per se, right? That's, I guess, if you want to be you don't have to draw the same character over and over again, right? A lot of times, it's just like one-off as well, right? It's just like, oh, okay, I did this one up. I'm not going to draw this character again. He's just special to this one.
Oh. But can you do that? Can you draw consistently like a character?
I guess so, yeah.
You are known amongst the community as Lovage.
Lovage.
What's the worst way that people butcher your name?
I don't know.
I remember someone like I want to follow Lovage, Lovage.
But people have said that too. I'm not sure if it's just a different pronunciation, honestly. Maybe it is. I don't know.
The proper term is Lovage, right?
I guess so. That's what YouTube tells me, and I like to see it. I like to say it as Lovage as well because
like
there's
love.
love. Yeah, there's love in it. So I guess that never ages.
And Lovage is actually a flower.
It is a plant.
Why do you have a plant representing yourself?
To be honest, I really like the name because of that word love in it. That was one thing.
Oh, that was the deciding factor.
It was part of it, and it just really, it was catchy, that's why. And it's definitely easy to remember. And also, not to forget, I love to draw plants as well, and I do like nature and stuff, so I thought it was appropriate.
Let's talk about what's the deal with you and Hannah? Not a girl called Hannah, but Hannah drawing.
Not the girl called Hannah.
Why haven't you been doing it in a while?
So Hannah, to me, Hannah was just a mere extension of my illustration. I started doing henna with friends, and then it kind of grew into like a small business. But that was just an extension of how I illustrate and what I do. I started doing henna and illustrating on like people's bodies, but with my own style illustration. So it wasn't the traditional type of henna as much, or it wasn't how you would usually do henna. So I guess that's where it picked up, because I used my illustrations and drew on people's bodies. So it became more like a tattoo rather than the traditional henna, and so that's how it picked up, I guess. And about not doing it recently is because I guess I believe I've grown since, and I've grown out focus. Yeah, I mean, grown up from it, grown out of it. Out of it.
I mean, you want to explore other areas
that's something I explored for sure when I was younger. But now I just feel like I should focus more on my illustration and stuff like that.
How scary is it for you to do henna? You are using somebody's body as a canvas. If you screw up your art, then like, the person is screwed.
Definitely was quite intimidating at first.
I mean, it's not permanent like a tattoo, but I mean, it's gonna be on the person for a few days or a few weeks.
Yeah, it definitely freaks me out sometimes because I think, oh no, what if it's not good enough for them to pay me, you know?
Yeah, and I've seen you do your art. You are quite a perfectionist. If
sometimes,
if you do your artwork like halfway and you don't like it, you like scrap it and then you.
That definitely was a problem when I was in school. I remember my teacher confiscated my eraser because I was erasing too much. And she's like, no, I'm going to take this eraser from you, not going to erase anymore. And I'm like, no, what am I going to do now?
How do you define like perfection? Like, is it you have the idea in your head, when you translate it in your artwork, it doesn't come up as close?
Maybe that's the idea. But I feel like perfection is definitely hard to achieve. But it's always a constant journey to get there. I don't know.
OCD. Maybe, is it
yeah,
OCD?
I think it's just OCD. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, it's probably just like a disorder rather than
mild OCD.
The idea of getting perfection.
It's a good OCD to have. As an artist, I guess you want to give your best.
But it's like pros and cons, you know. Like the cons are that I would tear sketchbooks and I never kept a proper sketchbook because everything is just it's just like tear. No, I need a new sketchbook now. I get a new sketchbook, I draw like 5 pages and I'm like, no, it's ugly, get a new sketchbook. And I never have a single sketchbook.
Speaking of sketchbook, when I was younger, anybody asked me what would I like for my birthday, I always tell them that I like a sketchbook or like a jotter book, because I liked drawing, but as I grew up, I guess it translates to, for me, just wanting to be creative. And then that butterfly effect into me being a videographer and so on. But that's not about me. That's about me, more about you. Misconceptions about you as a person. Like people often think that you are Tiffany Lovage, the henna girl.
That's not so much a misconception, but a label, I guess. But misconception might be just stuff like maybe people who think that I'm super zen. You
eat a lot and then you don't grow fat.
No, that's what people don't think. People think I eat super healthy. That's another misconception. Like, right? Tiffany always eats super healthy. Or like, Tiffany is super zen.
I can attest to that. She doesn't eat healthy all the time.
And definitely not super zen. That's where this comes about. Where
if anyone has ever gone food shopping with Tiffany, if you enter a supermarket, you'll probably
that's my happy place.
You're not gonna exit the supermarket within 15 minutes.
It's my happy place.
Okay.
I like to be healthy though. It's my new month's resolution.
But
it's tomorrow's resolution.
But I mean,
it's Monday's resolution to diet.
I guess you balance it out, right? You do say you eat junk food a lot, but you do balance it out with your diet.
My deal is that I like quantity, I guess. So I would try and replace super bad junk foods with like junk foods of
super bad,
like super, I don't know, like super deep fried.
You
or
mean high calories?
Not just high calories, just like super bad, like maybe super salty.
There's different type of junk food. Junk food is junk food.
Yeah, right? I know. Yeah, but there are some that with a healthier choice symbol on it, and that's not as bad a junk food.
Healthiest choice symbol junk food.
Wait, like you said, popcorn is a lighter junk food than other junk foods, right?
Okay.
That's what I mean. So like, I would rather have like lighter popcorn but in large quantities. I just need a large quantity. So I'd rather have like 10 bowls of popcorn rather than like 1 bowl of fried chicken, you know?
Dieting advice by Tiffany.
It's not really dieting advice, do not follow it. But yeah, I guess I juggle. I do like healthy food though. I like most foods though.
In any case, you do burn off your calories a lot from other activities.
Yep.
I say that like oh, your other activities, like people
other activities.
Other activities. There are different ways where you portray your art. You like digital art. You've done henna. You've done paper drawing.
Paper drawings.
You do paint on murals. So I guess what's your favorite catalyst to use?
So I have done a lot of pen drawings in the past. I've done a lot of watercolor drawings. I've done murals. I've done henna. So that's skin as canvas. And recently I picked up digital art as well. So a bit more digital drawings. And I mean, I did acrylic before. I did oil as well. I dabbled a bit of oil, but
safe to say, like, which one have you not done?
There are a lot that I haven't done. Oil, I've never explored oil enough. That's always one regret of mine because that was something I really wanted to do when I was younger.
Okay, you should start now.
No, but oil. The problem with oil is space. I mean, there are a lot of
drips.
There's not drips. It's very toxic. Everything that you add with it, you know, having to wash brushes and stuff, and you need turpentine and stuff, and everything's just very
Oh,
toxic. You
yeah,
need a
yeah,
proper
yeah.
space to do that, pretty much.
Risking your life for art.
Yeah, so that one's off. And I mean, that one also takes time, and I'm a
Mhm.
bit impatient sometimes. Yeah, so I guess watercolor is a good.
You like watercolor art the most?
I guess I like to. I need to, and I want to improve on watercolor a lot more, and so I need practice. But watercolor is a very tricky medium to use.
I thought it would be like Photoshop or something, like digital art, because it's,
No, man.
for example, if you draw on a piece of paper and you use an eraser to erase, you can still see hints of what you've erased. Like but if you do it digitally, you can put the art out as perfectly as what you envision.
I guess not really. No, it's been hard because my background has always been in traditional mediums. So what I'm trying to do digitally is to mimic what it is I do with my traditional mediums, and it's been really hard because digital art just looks digital most of the time.
Okay.
So I mean, I've always liked watercolor, and and I think that's probably my favorite medium to use then. And I mean, it's really hard, but just practice, man.
So we've been friends for a very long time. I had no idea that you were someone that was like well known in the art scene or whatever. People seen you around. Usually they find you around art festivals or.
I guess people have seen me in those. I mean, Singapore has been cultivating an art
Culture.
scene, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
art culture. They're trying to make it a culture, and they have been having a lot of markets, night markets, and whatsoever to support artists. And at that back then when I was doing henna as well, I started doing some of them, and some of them have invited me to go to be a part of the event, and I guess that's what people have seen me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I mean, and that's where I've also gained a bit of what's that word?
Notoriety.
I don't know if that's a word.
Notoriety.
I don't know if that's a word, but yeah, I guess I got a bit more traction, and then and a bit of
Fame.
views.
Let's say fame.
Not fame.
Okay.
I wouldn't say fame.
So modest.
Notorious.
Okay.
No, but yeah, that's probably where I got a bit more
Notorious.
traction, and people start seeing what I did.
Mhm.
And and they were seeing my illustrations, because I would say, yeah, they were seeing my illustrations, not so much my henna works, but my illustrations, even though they were done on skin.
What separates you from other illustrators?
That's a very tough question to answer.
I'll tell you this. I was browsing through your Instagram earlier this morning just to think of questions to ask on the podcast, and for me, as I scroll down, it's in chronological order where
Of course.
you post your older stuff first and then to the newer ones.
Yeah.
It gets morbid and morbid as I scroll down the Instagram post. I start seeing like skulls.
Yeah.
As I scroll down, like snails on somebody's tongue.
Yeah.
That was what sticks out in my mind. And to me, when I look at your art, a lot of people, they try to when they do art, they like to say, oh, it's abstract. Which
Yeah.
to me is fine, but I can't necessarily relate to it. I don't understand it. So how do I connect with your artwork?
Yeah.
But I guess it's individual artists, and it's up to them if they want people to connect their art. But when I look at your art, I feel like it's easier for me to understand what you're trying to put out there, because I guess the way you draw it is very realistic. Your art makes it easier for me to relate to it.
I guess it's different. Like they're just targeting a different audience.
Mhm.
And that's probably in like the fine art genre that you're talking about, where you don't understand and they have like a deeper meaning into it.
Mhm.
And I guess what I'm doing is more illustration, so it kind of that's why I've been working with a lot of corporate companies, and we are using my illustration and their branding and as a collaboration to speak to their clientele or
Okay.
their target audience. So
Okay.
I guess that helps, or rather that is why my work would help translate or relay the
message.
and it is a part of visual communication.
Mm.
Yeah.
That being said, how do you translate your artwork from your abstract style to what the client wants?
I guess it depends though. Like every client has a different
Objective?
A different objective. They have a different vision
Mhm.
for their different types of clientele. But
Their
obviously, I think for their products, and obviously as an artist and as an artist that they have reached out to, they have seen my works and they think that what I do can aid them in their product launches or whatsoever. So it's usually a good collaboration because they know what I do already, and they think that what I do can be in sync with their branding. So that's definitely a step ahead, and that's definitely something that we can clear so that I can use my creativity as well and my type of style or my style in line with whatever their objective is for this project.
Okay. Oh, and you do a bit of photography as well, right?
Yeah, I guess I do a bit of photography, but mostly as a hobby, I guess.
Are you open to talk about the photography you do back then? I don't know the ones that you put up in your website. I don't know whether it's like approved by MDA or the government.
Probably not. Back in college, I did fine art. Right, I practiced fine art. So everything was based out of, I guess, an idea. I don't know how to describe this now. I'm lost for words.
Okay, it's okay.
So what I mean, fine art as opposed to illustration is very different, right? So fine art is about anything the artist feels or anything the artist wants to tell people. But illustration is something that I portray from, like, let's say, clients to consumer, right?
The products.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess that's a very loose way of putting it, but yeah. So fine art is about what the artists want to say in general anyway, or explore. Explore is probably a better word. So back then, I mean,
photography.
Yeah, not just photography, but I did paintings as well. But I did a lot more photography in school, I guess. I mean, it was my preferred medium back then for fine art. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could have done painting and I did a bit of as well, but I thought the photography worked better. So yeah, so back then I was exploring a lot of the feminine growth and in general. So feminine growth in many ways, like how we grew up, because it stems a lot from me being a woman or girl going into a woman kind of thing. Okay. For the lack of a better term, I guess. I mean, I've grown up in a very sheltered home and in a very sheltered country, so going to art school and learning so much more, and being exposed to so much that isn't what I'm used to back in home and back in school.
Okay.
When I was younger was an eye opener, and I started exploring different themes about female sexuality, or how we go out of go into it, or like stuff like that, what happens in the virgin suicides, or stuff like that. And that's kind of
for people who don't understand what we are talking about. Visit
www.tiffanylovage.com.
tiffanylovage.com. Yeah. So when you are taking those sort of pictures, like, was it awkward?
No, it wasn't.
Like, I mean, they are willing parties.
Yeah, so like going into the fine art world, this is strange because so recently, last week I was in Nepal, right? I was in Nepal
Kathmandu.
Yeah, but I was mostly
shout
in
out to
Kathmandu. Kathmandu just for like 3 days.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
shout out to Nepal.
So in Nepal, we were on this track, and we bumped into like these two New Yorkers on this track. So they were talking to us, and we told them we're from Singapore, and they were like, "Oh, I've heard so much about Singapore, so I have friends who are there." And then one of the first questions they asked were, "I heard the country is really oppressed." And I was just like, "Wait, what? Oppressed?" And I was like, "No, they're not wrong, exactly." So they were asking about it, and I said, like, they were asking me if I feel oppressed, and then I was thinking about it. I said, well, I guess a lot of us in the creative industry do feel that way, and I have a lot of people who would say that because we're in the creative industry, and it's a bit different. And I guess I don't know how to describe it, but people in the creative industry wants to explore a lot more so.
I guess you have to be inspired.
Yeah, not that everyone else doesn't want to explore, but then the people in the creative industry really tries to explore a bit more, I guess.
I understand.
Yeah, and so I told them, I guess that's how I would feel oppressed, and how I would see it as being oppressed. Like you said, like you were talking about pictures and asked if it was NDA approved, right? And I was just like, that's only something that's something only a Singaporean would say, right? Yeah. They wouldn't say that in other countries.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's funny because they were asking me about it, and I said that I guess in the creative industry we do, but we're so used to it because we grew up with it that it doesn't really matter.
We were already in it.
We're already in the first place.
World.
I mean,
Sad.
but it's not that. It's not a bad thing, because look at us as a country as well. I mean, we're doing great, and it's sheltered, but not in a bad way entirely as well. But I mean, everywhere, everything has its pros and cons anyway. So there are pros and cons for this as well. So it's just funny that you mentioned it being
like for you, if you were approached to someone, hey, you take off your clothes, do a photography. Like, whereas when it comes to me, people will just think I'm a sleazy nude photographer.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it depends on who you are. But then again, a lot of times I've gotten this as well. That as a female photographer, it's a lot easier to take pictures as well of other girls or whatsoever.
Yeah, they feel more comfortable around.
Yeah, I guess even for guys just feel more comfortable with a female photographer as well for some reason.
Yeah.
So maybe because we're softer.
Don't say that.
We're softer.
Okay. But I mean, that being said, despite there being nudity in your photography, there is essence of art in it. You are trying to relay a message.
Exactly. So
and it's not like, oh, I'm taking nude shots of you.
Yeah, but that's my point as well. That was my point back then when what I was doing.
Yeah.
So what I was doing was a lot about the male gaze and the female gaze.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you know, but now I'm telling you.
Okay.
So whatever you just said,
gaze?
so whatever you just said kind of solidified my research I was doing back then. So I was looking a lot. But yeah, it's exactly it. This is why the society is what it is right now, because we always everything is portrayed with the male gaze. Like all the sexy lingerie photos or whatsoever attracts all of us in a different way because of male gaze. Even females look at ourselves with the male gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And the male gaze kind of sexualizes everything, right?
Yeah, living in a men's world.
I mean, we technically still are, even though, I mean, we're trying to grow out of it for sure, but then we still are. So there's always been a question about what is the female gaze then? Is it about females sexualizing a male? It might not be, because back then as well, when I was doing my research, technically the female gaze was the male gaze. Women are always sexualized, right? And in movies, in advertisements and whatsoever, in advertising and all that. So that's based off the male gaze, especially from back then. So when females look at the females, what do they see? They see themselves as a mirror as well. They see that I'm not skinny enough, I'm not hot enough, I'm not, whatsoever enough. It's because of the male gaze. So therefore, with the female gaze, are kind of seeing everything with the male gaze perspective because we grew into it. So that was kind of my research. And whatever you just said about taking pictures of girls and stuff was exactly that though, you know?
Okay, makes sense. Okay, last few questions. When you approach an art that you're about to do, perhaps a project from a client, where do you draw your inspirations from?
So a lot of them kind of come from Pinterest. Like I have a million boards on Pinterest for different jobs, and then a lot of them.
It's a collective of artworks from different artists around the world.
Yeah, different artists from all around the world, or different sources as well. Because I guess with corporate clients, we always have an ideal image, and they kind of have an image in mind. So I would draw inspirations for this kind of styles there is, or color schemes even. There are a lot of color palettes on Pinterest you can use as well. Different colors that go well together, different styles of artwork, or stuff like that.
Okay. I don't want you to put you on a pedestal, because that's not how you want to portray yourself. But perhaps something valuable that you could share with local illustrators or aspiring,
other illustrators. I guess.
Okay. Something you use in your art that you like to share or something.
I don't know. I guess I've learned a lot as well from other people, other local illustrators. But a piece of advice I would give is, I guess, try to stay true to yourself, because that's something I'm working on as well. Especially when you go into the corporate world, you should know what I mean.
Yeah.
When you're working and with
you have a particular
corporates
style
and stuff, you start to lose yourself a bit, and sometimes I do feel I do as well. But I guess it's part of growing as well, because I'm trying to grow into something different, and I'm trying to figure out where I go, but I don't want to lose myself in the projects that I'm working on. And that's one advice that I would give to everyone and myself.
You're right. You do want to get your art out there, and you want to please the clients, but at the same time you want to have your stamp on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't want to just do it just for the sake of submitting it to the client.
Yeah.
And finally, how do you define yourself? What is Tiffany? What is Lovage? Essentially, you're an artist, and you're creative. I don't know whether that.
I don't know.
am I being clear with my question?
I don't know. How do I define I don't know how I define myself. I'm just a plethora of things. I like to travel. I like to draw. I like to work out, I guess. I don't know.
You're also a work in progress.
I guess, yeah, exactly, that's
at
it.
the same time, you can't put a definition on yourself because you're still evolving and you're still growing as an artist, as a creative.
I mean, it's the same thing you said when you were going through my Instagram. It's like I've evolved over these years.
You evolved from the morbid emo.
It wasn't really
girl.
emo though. It was just a lot of exploration, and then I had always had an interest in anatomy, but then back then I just drew anatomy a bit more morbidly, I guess.
Okay.
In some ways, it's just the visual that attracted me back then, and then now, I slowly started going into a more medical based illustration type thing. Medical. I don't know what the word is. Medical and botanical type based.
Then your recent pot.
Yeah,
your recent pot on this podcast.
And my recent pod series on this podcast.
What was the pots? What was the
my
posting
pods.
that you did? Oh, my pods. So yeah, you asked me for some names to name your thing, and then you didn't even use any of my suggestions. I was so
Sorry.
sad.
I was trying to decide, and they were a bit
Oh
too cheesy.
Actually, I did think of my pods, but I didn't think you would have liked it because
oh my pods.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for being in my podcast, Tiffany.
You're welcome, Kin.
Podcast number 2.
Number 2.
And
because I am number 2 to him. Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.